They didn't think much of me since they used my business cards as coasters at dinner. My mother quipped, "Luna, honey, when you're done playing CEO, let us know how unemployment feels." I tightened my jaw and grinned as everyone else at the table laughed, unaware that I had already dispatched my first overseas order that morning. Before we go any further, don't forget to like if you think that quiet triumph and sweet retaliation are possible. Please share and subscribe. Bradis, my uncle, here's to real jobs, not pipe dreams from the basement. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears as my sister Kayla leaned over and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "She still uses duct tape on her laptop, so how is she going to manage a multinational company?" I didn't flinch. They didn't care that I was the girl who quit law school to design custom planners from her garage, the same garage they made fun of every Thanksgiving, and that my products had just been picked up by a Parisian boutique. The email that was sitting in my drafts was from a major investor in New York, and they didn't know that. "Perhaps you should have married a rich man instead." Mom sipped her wine and nodded, saying, "Like normal girls," adding with her smug smile, "Some people just aren't made for the spotlight." My phone buzzed beneath the table, and I looked at it. "Congrats. You live in 37 countries," lit across my screen, and I froze. I was done being their joke, but I didn't say a thing yet since I had a larger stage in mind. My chest constricted not because of fear but rather from the fire that was growing within me. Next week, there will be a family get-together with cameras, visitors, and a surprise they won't expect. When I speak next, nobody at that table will laugh. The following Friday, my cousin's engagement party was held in a fancy venue that was rented, with champagne glasses, string lights, and phony smiles. Our entire extended family was present. Last Christmas, they made fun of my $40 frock, but this time, I wore it like armor, and the first person to see me was Denise. "Oh, look, Luna is still running your little sticker shop," she said, laughing while sipping Ross. Before I could reply, Kayla jumped in and said, "It's international." The table then burst out laughing, maybe implying that she was relishing her failure. Around the world, my cousin Josh grinned, but I maintained my composure since I had long since discovered that you don't have to yell when you're holding a royal flush. Instead, you should wait for the ideal time to deal the cards. The event host took the mic after I glanced across the hall and gave a small nod. Before we started, one of our very own guests, Miss Luna Bennett, gave a brief surprise message. Her head turned to glasses, and she paused in mid-sentence. I walked up on heels, echoing like thunder, and took the mic. "I know many of you recognize me as the girl with the garage hobby, so I started looking at their bewildered faces. I thought I'd share a few numbers now." The screen behind me showed 37 nations with global reach and $4.8 million in income from partnering businesses like Vogue. Last quarter, Amazon Uncle Brad's wine spilled on his suit, Target gasped, and forks fell. Mom's face went white, and Kayla's mouth hung open as if she had forgotten how to close it. I smiled softly, and it turned out that the pipe dream pays more than all your corporate jobs combined. But I wasn't finished yet. I clicked on the next slide, which was about the garage girl who interrupted the audience. For once, there was a lot of silence, and everyone just stared blankly. But as I was ready to leave the stage, Josh got up and asked, "If you're that rich, then why did you borrow money from Grandma last year?" That was a test, and she passed. But she failed because that money came back to her tenfold with shares in my company, I remarked with a gentle smile as I turned around. Everyone then turned to face Grandma, who winked and raised her champagne. The same individuals who made fun of me were now standing in a room constructed on the same brand. Everything changed after the incident, but not in the way you may have expected. They abruptly changed and wanted to be a part of my tale, Uncle, without offering an apology or congratulating me. Kayla texted me after Brad sent me his consulting portfolio, saying, "Hey sis, maybe we can collaborate. I have influencer friends." Even my mom made supper the following night, acting like she hadn't made fun of me in years, but I wasn't interested in acting like nothing was wrong. I didn't forget that then came the dinner at home, a private gathering with only my immediate family. Dad poured wine and said, "Luna, I think it's time you let us help manage things. We are your family after all. I smiled politely and professionally at everyone, even when they made fun of me for having a planner business that was only about arts and crafts. Dad, you once told me I was wasting my life and told me to sell my printer and get a real job. Now you want in? I said, cautiously, setting down my fork and leaning in. Before we realized how serious you were, he cleared his throat. I chuckled slightly. But no, it was before you realized how successful I was. Then I took out the folder I had brought inside. Mom's fork clattered on her plate, and Kayla's voice rose. You can't just cut us off like that, she said, standing up. Because when I pleaded for help, you said, I can't just cut us off like that. Contracts weren't for partnerships or investments but for the removal of names and their names from my company trust. I pushed the folder across the table. This isn't retaliation. It's release. They just stared in shock as I left, but they didn't realize the biggest blow was still coming, and this time the entire family was watching. You ignored me when I worked through my tears, and now that I've built something, you want to collect the reward. Dad tried to interrupt. And we're your blood. I looked at him coldly. The nation would observe after 3 weeks. Reporters were everywhere as I stood in front of a 32-story glass structure in Manhattan that housed my company's new headquarters. While I was being interviewed live on national television, cameras clicked and a huge banner stretched across the top of Lunaria, the international company that began in a garage. The host grinned and remarked, Luna, your tale has what message do you have for those who doubted you, having inspired millions from a garage to global domination? I inhaled deeply, stared directly into the camera, and uttered, never underestimate the quiet ones. We don't shout. We build across the country. People cheered. Hashtags like #Luna wins and #Garage Queen went viral online. Trended in a matter of minutes, and my family in my hometown sat quietly watching the live stream until the true twist occurred. The anchor turned back to me during the program and said, before we go, we have one last surprise announcement from Luna herself. I paused and grinned as I announced the formal introduction of a new grant known as the Underdog Fund. $10 million, I said, turning to the side as a huge screen behind me displayed the names of the fund's first 10 beneficiaries. My family members leaned forward from their couches in anticipation of seeing Kayla Brad. Instead, the names belonged to 10 children from foster homes, single-parent households, and those from disadvantaged backgrounds. I looked directly into the camera and dealt the death blow to those who had told me I needed a real career. Thank you for making me unstoppable back home. I had coached people in secret with unadulterated passion and no support. Mom covered her face in horror as Kayla rushed out of the living room, while Dad, grandmother Luna, there's a line of investors waiting to meet you, but I wasn't interested in the money anymore. Now I wanted to build a legacy, one that had nothing to do with the people who once laughed and everything to do with those who were never given a chance, and just when they thought they'd lost me forever, but there was one last twist that they would never get over. 2 months had gone by, and everyone knew who I was. I was featured on business panels, podcasts, and magazine covers. Lunaria had made over $100 million, but despite the success, there was still a personal issue that I hadn't disclosed to anyone. My mother had been phoning every day for the past week, but I never answered. I didn't wait. I hurried home that night after receiving a message one night through a picture of my grandmother in a hospital bed. When I entered the hospital room, she gave me a feeble grin and muttered, I knew you'd come. You were always meant for something big, she remarked, holding my hand. I just wanted to see it before I go. Though my eyes were burning from tears, I remained tough. You made me believe when no one else did. I muttered back, this all started because of you. She died. 2 days later, the whole family arrived to the burial in silence and tranquility. After the service, Dad came over to me with a folded face. I sat in your grandmother's old recliner, unfolded the paper, and read the words that altered everything, Luna. She stated that only you should open it later that evening. I made sure the house, the land, and my funds were all in your name because I knew they would want to steal everything once you made it. but I also made sure one final thing was secure. Visit the attic. With my heart racing, I hurried back to her house, climbed the dusty stairs, and opened the wooden chest she had once warned us not to touch. Inside was a black binder with documents, photos, receipts, and a video cassette marked for Luna's eyes only. I played it there, and she was grandma years younger. She spoke confidently and clearly, saying, "Luna, if you're seeing this, then you've made it." I knew you would, but I sat frozen, enduring every sacrifice, sleepless night, and insult while my family surreptitiously established Kayla's phony marketing company using funds intended for me. However, I now had proof that the trust fund your father claimed never existed and was lost in taxes was never gone. He used it to launch his second business under Kayla's name, a name strong enough to reveal them. I went public the following morning with a press release, a video statement, screenshots of the trust documents, their names, and their lies. It went viral in 6 hours, and news outlets devoured it. Her family took her inheritance, and now she owns theirs. Their business licenses were frozen, and their reputations were destroyed. Kayla begged me to forgive her in a heartfelt apologetic video, but it was too late. So I didn't yell when Dad called. Instead, I responded, "You taught me business, remember?" Their house was rented back to them for 3 times the market rate. After I hung up, I realized that I now owned everything they had previously used to humiliate me. But I didn't feel resentful because the little girl they made fun of wasn't merely because of her success. She left a legacy.